The 2019 Mac Pro has been out for over a month at this point, and it's quite a confounding situation for content creators such as myself. I've been looking to the iMac Pro as a possible solution to this conundrum, and by golly, I think I've cracked it. If you look at the base configurations for the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, I certainly wouldn't blame you for being a little confused. The iMac Pro has the same 8 cores and 32 gigs of RAM, but comes with much better graphics and 4 times as much storage and a 5K display, and costs $1,000 less. And that's just buying new. See, the iMac Pro came out 2 years ago, and there are plenty of used options. For the past several months, I've been keeping my eye on iMac Pro pricing with the intention of buying the least expensive one and reviewing it to see if it's any good. However, I did not buy the least expensive iMac Pro. Not by a long shot. This, as far as I'm aware, is the cheapest 18-core iMac Pro that has ever been sold on eBay. And it's amazing. My iMac Pro is equipped with the top-of-the-line 18-core Xeon W2191 processor, 128 gigabytes of 2666 DDR4 ECC RAM, the upgraded Vega 64 graphics with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and a 2 terabyte internal SSD. And the price for all of this high-end space-gray goodness? $5,500. Just $500 more than the base model. If you price out this exact same configuration on Apple's website, you will get a price tag of a staggering $10,349 before tax, and that's also not including the Apple Care that my iMac Pro has until October 2021. Now, I've been using this iMac Pro for over a month now. In fact, you may even have spotted it in the background of some of my recent videos, but chances are you didn't, because it's pretty much identical to the standard iMac in terms of design. Despite that, this thing looks absolutely stealthy and cool. Space gray looks fantastic on the iMac, though I really hope we get a new iMac design with thinner bezels soon because it really dates the design. So right off the bat, let's start assessing the performance with the thermals. A lot of you are probably rightly wondering if this chassis is able to cool an 18-core Xeon processor. And I'm happy to report that it can. When under load, the Xeon runs at 2.7 to 2.8 GHz. That's an impressive 400 to 500 MHz sustained boost above base clock. As far as thermals go, running Cinebench back to back to back takes 3 full runs before the fans are audible, and even then, they're not very loud at all. After a few runs, temperatures peak at 93 C, and the machine will not thermal throttle or drop below 2.7 GHz. It's also important to note that the fans at that point are not running at their full potential, so I decided to try an experiment. Using max fan control, I manually cranked all the fans up to max RPM and ran Cinebench back to back again. This time we see stable 2.85 to 2.9 GHz clock speeds on all cores, and we see the temperatures drop by 10 degrees or more. We also see scores improve by about 5% over 3 runs. Apple's fan curve is definitely quiet, but it's not extracting every last percent of performance from the iMac Pro. So is the trade-off of fan noise versus performance worth it? I'm really not sure. I like a quiet machine, but I would also like to get as much performance as possible. Let me know your take in the comments below. So now that we've addressed thermals, let's benchmark the thing. In Cinebench R20, the iMac Pro demolishes everything I've ever tested, scoring 6,745 CB. That's 2,700 points faster than my i9 iMac. Geekbench 4 shows similarly awe-inspiring numbers, scoring 55,863 in the multi-core test. That's more than 20,000 points better than the i9-9900K, which, by the way, is also very close to the base model iMac Pro and the 8-core Mac Pro. In Unigine heaven, the Vega 64 scores 2008, which is a noticeable improvement over the Vega 48, and in Unigine Valley, it similarly beats out lesser cards, scoring 2441. Very impressive numbers here. The iMac Pro is also really solid for gaming, surprisingly. Games like Battlefield 5, Rainbow Six Siege, GTA 5, Far Cry 5, and many other recent AAA titles will run on high and ultra settings in 1440p at 60 frames easily. And it's not just that they get good frames, they get consistent frames. No lag spikes, no frame drops, and the fans are a lot quieter under sustained gaming loads than the loud single fan design in the standard iMacs. And obviously, to be clear, you're not buying an 18-core iMac Pro to game on it. But if you are buying an 18-core iMac Pro, you can game on it. There's a difference. So what about real-world performance? As I've said, I've been using this for all of my videos for the past month, and this thing is astounding. The iMac Pro is stupendously quiet. When running Final Cut, you simply do not hear the fans. It refuses to show strain no matter how many streams of 4K, color grading, text effects, and transitions you throw at it. Compared to my Core i9 iMac, which is already no slouch, the iMac Pro simply embarrasses it in every way. I dropped in the same 20-minute 4K 60 clip with color grading and let both machines render the clip out. The iMac completed the task in 18 minutes and 16 seconds, where the iMac Pro accomplished the same task in 13 minutes and 17 seconds, a full 5 minutes faster. Next, I exported that very same clip, and the iMac took 3 minutes and 31 seconds, where the iMac Pro took 2 minutes flat. Now, as with any of my videos on Apple products, there are going to be comments that say,
"Dude, that's a terrible deal. That computer's worth like $57, dude. I could build a PC for 1/69th the price and get like 420 times the performance, dude."
So let's address that head on. $5,500 is expensive, no doubt. This is by far the most amount of money I've ever spent on a computer. So let's evaluate if this makes any sense. First off, yes, obviously you can build a PC for less, but it's not as huge a gap as you'd think. People sometimes send me parts lists that prove they can save money with a PC, but they use cheap parts, often don't include a high quality monitor, stock coolers, and it's just not a good comparison. If you put together a comparable Ryzen-based Hackintoshable system on PC Part Picker and add in an LG ultrafine display, you're looking at a touch over $4,000. But let's be real, convenience has value. And the iMac Pro is possibly the most convenient workstation you can imagine. It's a plug-and-play 18-core machine, and that counts for something, especially if you move around. Okay, Mac Pro time. Is this better than a Mac Pro? It's a complicated question. Obviously for me, the answer is yes. Spec for spec, dollar for dollar, this iMac was $500 less than the base Mac Pro, comes with 10 more cores, 4 times the RAM, 8 times the storage, and has much better graphics, and comes with a 5K display thrown in. As an overall package, it's hard to beat this iMac Pro, because you're not just paying for the specs here, you're paying for the package, and as a package, this is one of the only high-end workstations that looks like this and has this level of functionality. There's really not a ton of competition for a high-end configuration of the iMac Pro, which is why it's kind of an interesting product. I think the key point for me is that the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro and Hackintoshes and pre-built systems and all sorts of other things for that matter are not mutually exclusive. I think the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro can coexist side by side and each have their benefits depending on what your needs are. I think honestly for most people that are looking at the base level Mac Pro, an iMac Pro in the here and now makes more sense. But if you're buying a machine that you're planning on upgrading and keeping over a very long period of time, the Mac Pro is a great option. Let me know what you think of this debacle down in the comments section below. I'm definitely curious to hear what you think. So how in the world did I get this deal? How can you find stuff like this on eBay? Well, as I've said a number of times before, there is an element of luck here, but it's not completely random. Whenever I want to buy the cheapest of some Apple product, I start by browsing active and sold listings to get a sense of the going price for that particular product. Then I try to undercut that number or find the cheapest one that's available. Start by setting up search parameters to filter for the specs, configuration, and year that you want. Then sort by time newly listed and save the search so you can get updates and stay current whenever new listings are added. This particular iMac Pro showed up as an auction with a starting bid of $5,500. It was listed by a relatively inexperienced seller, and they used stock photos and had very little information in the description. These things tend to scare most people off, especially with an expensive machine such as this, but the account was several years old, had positive feedback in the past, and eBay has very good buyer protection, so I knew if I didn't get exactly what was advertised, I would be able to get a refund. However, because of those factors, no one bid on this iMac. I won with the starting bid of $5,500. So the cheapest 18-core iMac Pro, as far as I'm aware. It is unbelievable. I've never experienced this kind of power or this many cores. And this is going to be my editing machine. You're gonna see it in the background of all my videos for the foreseeable future. I might eventually, if there's a new iMac Pro that comes out with a 6K display, please do that. I might end up buying one of those. And the nice thing about something like this is I probably won't lose any money once I sell this machine, even in like a year. Say what you want about Apple, but they hold their value, and if you get a good deal, it can be cheap or free to own one of these things, which is insane. So that'll do it for this video as usual. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Miani, and please consider checking out my subreddit, which you'll find linked in the description below. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video.